He too is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 15 victories and only 2 losses. Representing the Fight Factory, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Eddie Alvarez.
He once fought in the Dream Tournament. He beat Joaquim Hansen, had an injury, couldn't compete in the tournament. Joaquim went in for Eddie and ended up winning the tournament.
Right.
So he's got
of course, the fight between Eddie Alvarez and Tatsuya Kawajiri, thought by a lot of people to be a Fight of the Year candidate late in 2000.
Absolutely. Eddie looking to make this a fight of the night for sure, throwing heavy hands right away. Loughran taking it to him.
Yeah, Loughran landed a shot there early. Doesn't seem to be fazed by the atmosphere, by the U.S. soil, or any of that. Nice leg kick there to the body. Excuse me.
Eddie just plants his feet, throws punches, and says, "You're gonna fall down, or I'm gonna fall." Oh! Buckled Eddie with the left hand. Loughran did.
How about that? Eddie Alvarez trying to close the gap there quickly. Appeared to be stunned by that punch.
That's what's great about things like this. It's mixed martial arts. Anything can happen, and oftentimes anything does happen. How many Cinderella stories do you hear about early events where there's tournaments and guys come in as alternates, you know, getting their chance?
Nice uppercut there by Eddie Alvarez. Seems to be finding his stride a little bit here. Loughran, though, wouldn't reveal his game plan to us. Wanted to keep it close to the vest, but again, really just seemed very comfortable in the atmosphere, dealing with the Bellator folks and really trying to maximize this opportunity.
It looks like his game plan is just to punch Eddie in the head over. So far, it's working.
Yeah, you know Eddie wants to strike, and Greg seems to be fine with it.
They have a mutual agreement. We punch each other till one of us falls.
Little overhand right there by Eddie. Appeared to be blocked by Loughran.
Good sprawl there that got his hips in deep. Eddie now working in on that single leg. And Greg got to peel him up so he takes away some of that leverage that Alvarez is trying to use there. If he can just suck him off the fence, pull off that left leg, boom, down he goes.
Well, Loughran able to get up rather easily, Jay, and get off the cage.
Yeah, Eddie did get a good takedown there. Alvarez put him against the cage, sucking off that ankle, but like you said, Loughran right back up.
Alvarez really an athlete, really a physical specimen, and a decided favorite.
Alvarez again pinning Loughran against the cage, in deep on those doubles. Used a lot of energy to pull someone off the cage, though. That's the only problem that you have. Unless you're Eddie Alvarez and you can just suck him right off the cage. Eddie's going to look to use that cage now to kind of posture up and throw some punches here.
Dangerous. Oh, looked like a tap there. Looked like Loughran had already tapped. Maybe Jason Herzog didn't see it.
It did look like he may have tapped, but
again, that soft tap, trying to survive a little bit. Alvarez.
Oh, he gets it. It's over. It's over.
Greg Loughran is done. Eddie Alvarez with ease, moving on in the Bellator Lightweight Tournament.
Throws a big left hook, and Loughran hits Eddie. Boom! Right there on the chin. There it is, big left hook, buckles Eddie for a second. Loughran said, oh, I might be able to capitalize.
But Alvarez showing off the chin, gets right up, and then here Eddie comes back and finishes the fight.
Kind of in a He-Man pose there.
So a fairly major upset in our first tournament semifinal. Eddie Alvarez trying to hold serve here as the favorite against Eric Reynolds.
Yeah, Eddie Alvarez is coming out, and he said, you know what, Eric Reynolds isn't really in my league. And Eric Reynolds wanted Eddie Alvarez ever since his tournament took place, and he got his wish. Let's just see how that wish plays out.
Yeah, Reynolds thinks Alvarez is tailor-made for him. I don't know that Alvarez is tailor-made for any opponent, but right. I think for Eric Reynolds, you know, he was really able to do what he wanted to do in training for this fight. He likes to stand and bang. You know, beating a submission czar in Thomas Schulte the first time around. This is a test that I think is more in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think that Eric Reynolds, you know, definitely has a little bit of reach. I think he's going to be more of a kickboxer as opposed to Alvarez being a little more of just a straight boxer. And, you know, Alvarez clearly has a little more wrestling experience. I'm going to say he's a little better athlete, too, from the people I've talked to that have trained with him. And you can see him pushing the action here. Nice double leg. Oh. Could Eddie end this fight the same way he ended his first fight with an off-the-cage guillotine? That would be incredible. Eddie's going to try to suck him off the cage here a little bit and flatten his back.
Safe to say this isn't where Reynolds wants to be about a minute in.
Yeah, no, I think that, I think Eddie feels confident standing up, and there you go. Eddie now going to work from the guard here of Eric Reynolds. Eric Reynolds, by his own accord, doesn't have a whole lot of jiu-jitsu experience, not the best on his back. Guys like Aoki that Alvarez has fought, though, fantastic off of their back. So this is somewhere that I think that even though there's more submissions to be had by Eric Reynolds, Alvarez is probably more comfortable in this position. You hear Eric Reynolds' corner yelling, feet on his hips and push away. They want him to open his guard, take his feet, obviously put him on the hips of Alvarez and use that to stand up.
Look at the heavy hands from Alvarez from the top there. Nice right hand connects flush.
And by Alvarez keeping his head down and not posturing his head up, it negates any attempt at getting a leg around his head for an armbar while he's throwing those punches. Let's see if Alvarez here can pass now. And nice pass all the way over to the cross side. And we're seeing Alvarez work some jiu-jitsu to see if he's going to move into mount here and get that left knee across the stomach of Alvarez.
So the Reynolds corner telling him to push his head up with his right arm.
There's that left knee over the belt like I thought. And in the mount. This is a bad spot for Eric Reynolds to be in. Eddie Alvarez is just going to start raining down punches, and I think you're going to see Reynolds turn his back just like that. Oh, but he's off, and it's back to a stand-up war.
Reynolds now has to do everything in his power, well, I was going to say, to keep it up, and he goes back down again. And
you hear the corner of what sounds like Reynolds yelling knees. There may be some fans behind the corner there. Wouldn't make a lot of sense for Reynolds.
Yeah, maybe some Alvarez fans behind us.
Yeah, knees from this point could be detrimental if Eric tries throwing them.
So we go under 2 minutes in the opening round, and really all Eddie Alvarez so far.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Reynolds has been doing a good job of throwing some punches, but nothing's really connected. But still very much in this, and if there's one thing that we've learned in these Bellator tournament fights is that you can't count someone out until that third round bell has rung and the judges have told you who the winner is. Good double leg, a good defense there by Reynolds, and he hops on the front, trying to get around to the back of Eric Reynolds. Oh, he almost had that right hand in there. Nice finish with a nice knee.
Reynolds, a little smile there. Not sure he has much to smile about to this point of the fight.
Alvarez showing good wrestling, too, getting in a couple of good double legs. Reynolds doing a nice job of trying to fight those off. Let's see if he can get him off the cage here. Yeah, he's in deep. There it is.
Eddie just so busy no matter where the fight goes in round one.
I'm going to see if Eddie's going to stand up and just rain punches down.
Reynolds corner looking for an elevator sweep. Any idea what?
Yeah, it's not going to happen anymore that Eddie passed the guard, but an elevator sweep would be using that open guard that he was in and passing, but no longer a factor as Eddie Alvarez moves into mount. And Eric Reynolds using the cage to sneak out the back. Good control by Alvarez, though, not letting him get too far away and keeping good pressure there.
So Reynolds doing a nice job battling here a little bit, but again, a hugely one-sided round here for Eddie Alvarez. I don't know that Reynolds has landed an appreciable strike at all.
Yeah, no, so far this round has been 80% Eddie Alvarez. A couple good defensive moves by Reynolds, but nothing really offensive that could make the judges sway.
All right, some ground and pound for Alvarez to complete round one. Well, Toby Imada's already moved on to the Bellator Championship at 155, June 19th, Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Hollywood, Florida. Tickets on sale, Ticketmaster.com, and going fast, by the way. Of course, the winner here tonight will meet Toby Imada.
Oh, it looked like he caught Eddie. It looked like for Eric Reynolds caught Eddie Alvarez there for a second. Eddie kind of turned his back and did a couple steps away. Eddie again in on that single leg. Eric really hasn't had a whole lot of defense stopping him once he's in that deep, and I'm going to assume that Alvarez is going to be able to switch it to a double here and get him off the fence.
Well, opportunities for guys like Eric Reynolds against elite fighters like Eddie Alvarez don't come around that often.
There's the double he switched it up to, and now he's going to do the second part of that equation and try to pull him off the fence a little bit here. I think we're going to see some punches right from here. Oh, Eddie's in on that guillotine. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful bow and arrow from wrestling. Eddie Alvarez just really showing that, hey, I can wrestle, I can submit, working really good positioning here on Eric Reynolds, and I think that's a smart game plan, you know. Eddie Alvarez knows his chin has been tested a few times, and he said it's not necessarily the best. He says, I recover quick, but I have gotten rocked in my last few fights. And Eddie doing a good job of coming out and wrestling, and now you got Eric Reynolds in on a single leg. Let's see if he can finish that.
Well, Eddie Alvarez is often fond of telling the officials, if I go down, don't end the fight. I recover as quickly as I go down. Nice takedown there.
Speaking of going down, another double leg. Now it's about 8 now for Eddie Alvarez. Alvarez is going to try to use that left instep on the thigh of Eric Reynolds and push it down and use that right knee and kind of start to squeak it out. Or he can just put it over the bicep and start to punch him. Right into mount again. Alvarez is going to posture up, start throwing down some heavy punches like that. Imagining that Eric Reynolds is going to get a few punches taken to the face and maybe turn his back. We saw him do that earlier.
This could be over soon if Eric Reynolds doesn't mount some sort of counterattack. A lot of right hands landing for the pride of Philadelphia and Kensington, Pennsylvania.
Eddie Alvarez playing a really smart, good game here, just keeping a good position and not taking too many chances, posturing up a little bit to create some more space so he can soften up Eric Reynolds. You hear Eric Reynolds' corner yelling back door. And what they mean by that is they want him to come out the backside of Eddie Alvarez, scoot his hips out. There's turning his back. Oh, let's see if Alvarez can hang on to the back now. He's got an overhand, he's got an over-under. He's gonna try to pull him back and get his hooks in. Can Eddie get on the back there? He's got that left arm around the throat. Not really that deep. But that crossface is gonna take away a lot of the pressure that Eric Reynolds is gonna be able to create on that single leg.
Just relentless pressure from Eddie Alvarez throughout the first and now the first 3 minutes of the second round.
Fantastic pressure. Eddie Alvarez is trying to work a little bit on the choke here. Oh, can he knock up a triangle? Not quick enough. He had the triangle available there.
Again, that's a spot, excuse me, but where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts just absolutely take advantage. Any open.
Yeah, I saw 2 openings in that 1 second transition. Right. There was an omoplata that he could have rolled to, and there was also a triangle there, but unfortunately, if you don't train stuff a lot, you're gonna have the same thing happen, like a takedown.
You see Alvarez goes for the guillotine, Reynolds goes for the guillotine, and Alvarez very easily escapes.
Yeah, Eddie Alvarez just doing a really good job of keeping constant pressure, not letting Eric Reynolds rest at all. He knows that Eric Reynolds has only been, in fights where it's been the first round. So his game plan going into this was, I'm gonna make him work. I'm gonna constantly keep pressure on Eric Reynolds. I'm gonna push him and make him sweat, make him think about the fight. And that's exactly what Eddie Alvarez is doing. Eddie Alvarez needs to get on top here, move into mount, because he's losing that. There we go, and that he does. Moves into mount.
Ask and you shall receive, Jim.
You know what, man? He's working a choke. It looks like he's got it in pretty deep. A head and arm triangle. If Eddie can just get off there and squeeze and flatten his body weight out a little bit, that's pretty tight. Eric looks like he's suffering a little bit. Alvarez is squeezing. He's squeezing. That's in deep. That's in pretty deep.
Eric Reynolds doing everything in his power to not tap out here. But might it be the second straight submission victory for Eddie Alvarez?
Got less than 10 seconds left. Oh, this is going to be a battle of attrition. Looks like he's trying
How about Reynolds? Yeah, putting his finger in his mouth to get more air. How about that?
That was close, but what an amazing round by Eddie Alvarez. But there's still a puncher's chance. I'd bet on you.
So the third, I appreciate that. The third and final round is upon us. $50,000 and a spot in the tournament final awaits the winner, as does Toba Imada, who moved on earlier tonight with a ridiculous submission victory over Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Eddie Alvarez knows he's won the first 2 rounds, so he's just playing a smart game. Like we saw in the last fight, a huge upset from, by all accounts, Jorge Masvidal was winning that fight, and he was 3 minutes away from going into the finals. Eddie Alvarez making the wise decision to play a safe game. He feels very confident there on the ground, and he's throwing some good peppering shots, but not having a problem taking Eric Reynolds down and working out of the guard, just peppering him and beating him up. Going 3 rounds with Eddie Alvarez, though. Oh, nice armbar attempt.
There, yeah.
Good armbar.
Eddie Alvarez really showing his maturation as a fighter. He's not going to try and stand and trade necessarily with Eric Reynolds. Has some respect for Reynolds' ability as a striker and just absolutely dominating the action on the ground.
Yeah, Eddie Alvarez doing a really good job of controlling Eric Reynolds. I think we're going to try to see him hop on the back here again. He's going to get his left hook in and try to swing his right hook in. Little blood on the nose now of Eddie Alvarez. And, you know, there we go, 2 hooks in. Going to see Eddie Alvarez try to flatten out the hips. Oh, rear naked choke is in deep. This is going to be it. It's all over, ladies and gentlemen. It's all over. Rear naked choke, and Eddie Alvarez moves on to face Toby Imada in the finals, June 19th at the Seminole Hard Rock. I can't wait. This is just fantastic. You see, this is the closest that Eric Reynolds had to win in the fight. It was this armbar attempt that Eddie Alvarez just powered out of, got into cross-side, and then just threw some punches. And right now he's on his back. He had that rear naked choke sunk in deep this time, and there was not much right in front of our commentating booth here. We could see that.
Touch gloves, come out ready to fight.
Yeah, great clash of styles here. Toby Imada, a submission guy. Eddie Alvarez, a knockout artist. We'll see how it plays out. 5 rounds if necessary to decide the first Bellator Lightweight Champion.
I think this fight's going to have fireworks all over it. We saw that Toby Imada is more than willing to stand and trade with guys like Jorge Masvidal, and you know, Eddie Alvarez, obviously a fantastic striker himself, and says that his fights that he's stood and traded with guys were the ones that not only did he like the most, he got him the most recognition. Fights like Kawajiri, which I think was Fight of the Year last year.
And Eddie Alvarez has won championships for smaller shows here in the U.S., but this would be the capstone to his young career if he could get it done here tonight against Toby Imada. And Alvarez coming in tonight as the overwhelming favorite. Any line you saw out there, some as high as a 4-1 underdog, was Toby Imada entering the fight tonight against Eddie Alvarez.
You hear the crowd beginning to chant Eddie about a minute into the fight here. Speaking of being an underdog, there's no way that Toby Imada thinks he's a big underdog. He thinks he's probably a 51-49 coin flip here because he's bringing it to Eddie the whole fight this far.
And of course, Imada has excelled throughout his MMA career as an underdog, but this is a stiff test here as he works for the takedown. Alvarez gives up his back there briefly, but Eddie Alvarez has a whole lot of respect for Toby Imada. Wasn't taking this opponent lightly whatsoever.
No, not one bit. Even when they both won their semifinal matches in the ring, Eddie was saying how much respect he had for Toby and thought he was a great fighter, and you know that he knows he's dangerous on the ground.
Of course, we mentioned Toby Imada going the distance with Jake Shields several years ago, and Jake Shields hasn't lost in several years now, doing damage for Strikeforce. So Toby Imada's been in a lot of wars.
Yeah, Toby Imada's resume looks like a who's who of mixed martial arts. Yeah. Jason Miller, Joe Stevenson, Jason Von Flute, who he beat by armbar, you know, Antonio McKee, like you said, Jake Shields. I mean, he's not losing to slouches, even though his record is 22-12. A big handful of those are coming to guys that are in the top 20 or 30 of their division, considering there's, you know, hundreds and thousands of people in your division. Toby Imada's creeping up the rankings.
And we've really seen with Eddie Alvarez the evolution of the mixed martial artist over the past 18 months or so. Of course, the aforementioned 2 submission wins now on his resume. He is the complete package, and that's why no matter what rankings you look at, he's a consensus top 2 or 3 guy in the world and deserves to be there.
Absolutely. I mean, Eddie Alvarez. Oh, beautiful judo sweep there by Toby Imada. He's not able to capitalize on it, but man, what a great sweep.
No feel-out process here. Both guys willing to exchange early.
Eddie Alvarez said he's more than happy to stand and trade for 5 rounds. Toby Imada obviously wants to get this to the ground. The only problem that Eddie Alvarez has had in the past is that his chin has been a little bit suspect. Never knocked out, although he did get the bell rung a little in his first fight. A little flash knockout, and he regains really quick.
And Jay, does it look a little bit like Toby Imada is getting the better of these exchanges? Maybe has Eddie a little out of sorts here in the early going, no?
This is a close fight to call this far in. What I'm surprised is that both of these guys have stayed clinched for the first 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, if I'm Eddie, I want to push off of Toby's face, create some space, and throw some punches.
Well, Eddie Alvarez knew Toby Imada was for real, and I think now as we approach the 1-minute mark in round number 1, he knows acutely just how real a threat Toby Imada is. The Alvarez corner, excuse me, calling for the overhand right.
Yeah, Toby Imada's dangerous. He has good head movement. His boxing looks a lot better than we thought it did.
And Imada might be well served to get those hands up. I know he's trying to get a shot in, but you keep those hands down against Eddie Alvarez, it could be good night pretty quickly.
Eddie Alvarez has shown time and time again he can take a punch. Oh, big body shot there by Alvarez.
Yeah. And now Eddie's starting to throw a few bombs here under a minute to go in round one.
I think both fighters are going to take the first round and feel each other out a little bit. They know it's a 5-round fight. Both guys having a good pace.
And again, it seems like there's some blood dripping out of the right eye of Toby Imada. We know he can take a punch given what we saw against Jorge Masvidal, but opened up here early against Eddie Alvarez.
Got to talk to Eddie Alvarez a little this afternoon. Talked about how he likes to fight. He likes to bring the fight to guys, and that's clear. He's pushing Toby Imada around the ring.
Yeah, Eddie really good getting it going with that left hand towards the end of round one. So just as the doctor ordered, the lightweight title's on the line. 1 round in the books from Hollywood, Florida.
You really got to watch the cage, okay? I know you don't mean to, but just be careful there, okay?
Keeping an eye on that here in round number 2. You saw the judo throw there. Toby Imada certainly has the judo credentials. A huge right hand for Eddie Alvarez. Imada hits the canvas, and his chin will be tested here. Alvarez into the full mount. Imada holding on, trying to survive. But what a start to the second round for Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah, he came out with a big right hand that just floored Imada. And man, I don't think Imada even realized where he was for a few seconds. And Eddie hopped in him out. Now on the back of the Jiu-Jitsu specialist. This could be an impressive win here if the striker wins 3 in Bellator via submission, especially against a guy who's a black belt in judo.
Oh, and that is Eddie Alvarez by rear naked choke, a 3rd submission win. Eddie Alvarez is the Bellator Lightweight Champion, the champion of the world.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a rear naked choke forces the blue corner to tap out with an official time of 38 seconds of round number 2. Your winner, by way of submission, el ganador por sumisión. Y ahora, el campeón peso ligero, and now, the Bellator Fighting Championships Lightweight Champion, Eddie Alvarez. Presentando el cinturón de campeonato, introducing the world title belt, CEO of Bellator, Bjorn Rebney.